Welcome to Superlap Scotland at Knockhill, part of the 50th anniversary celebrations for Knockhill, for celebrating all things car racing in May. Look at the sunshine, look at the cars, and we're ready for some track action. All the usual faces are back, and this is qualifying for Superlap Scotland. The drivers were greeted with some lovely conditions here at Knockhill, hardly a cloud in the sky as they hit the track for the all-important qualifying. And why is qualifying important in SLS? Well, you get points for qualifying and your final, so you want to maximise your haul of points by doing a good job in qualifying. Andrew Cowie a little bit wide through the chicane there in his Subaru, but finding a vein of form which really is putting him forward in the championship, and he wants to have a stake for King of the Hill. New man to Superlap Scotland, Gary Muir, round the hairpin there, finding out that he can use a little bit of gravel at the edge of the circuit, which doesn't actually help his lap time, but he can use it, kicking up a bit of dust as he heads up the straight there. And also, there was the return of Bobby Davey in his lovely, lovely pea green Lotus Elise S220 Cup car. Mark Dawson with the amazing Escort Mark 1 was back, and Nev Wood as well. Great to have Nev back, a veteran of the class and of the championship now, and the Ariel Atom again showing a good turn of pace in the qualifying. Phil Taylor was here. Not only is Phil Taylor a competitor, he's also a circuit advertiser, fastest in F class with a 103.607. Phil Taylor started his track action way back in the mid-90s doing hot hatches at Knockhill. There's a little bit of information for you might not have known. The Racing Awareness Scotland Armada were here as ever, and it was great to see Rab Jobson out there with the one and only Mr. Alex Milne, who was on track, and these guys who always put together a great run towards King of the Hill, trying to maximise their points, but also trying to maximise their sponsorship opportunities, which Racing Awareness Scotland do very, very well. Jobson, a hard charger, a hard pusher, fastest in E-Class with a 59.021. Reigning King of the Hill, champion Rab Jobson, a man that we need to keep our eyes on as he gets out of the way of Mark Dawson as they head round towards the hairpin. Dawson wasn't the only pro-class car we had here. Eric Holmes made a return, a welcome return, and was fastest with a 54.3. Eric, who does a lot of time attack, using this Superlap Scotland as a bit of track time to get some testing in, which is never an easy thing to do, but this man has been involved with Superlap Scotland for a long time. And coming down from the north of Scotland, putting in some blistering lap times, and you could see the heat haze from the car and the weather. The qualifying results were as follows. Eric Holmes was fastest in Pro Class from Mark Dawson, first and second overall. Fastest in E Class was Rab Jobson, and third overall. Andrew Cowie second in the E Class, champing at the heels of Rab Jobson, and Nev Wood, another Pro Class car, fifth overall. And it's time to move into the finals. So as the finals at Knockhill get set, the drivers have to line themselves up in the running order. And guest class, Bobby Davey, 1 minute .706. Great to have Bobby back in his Lotus Elise S220 Cup car. Basically a D-class car, but entered as a guest for this round. And we're hearing that he will be back at the July event as well. Great seeing him here. He has taken a bit of a break from Superlap Scotland, but come back to competing with a bit of a bang. Fourth in the final, Martin Hutton in his lovely little Peugeot 106. We get a time of 107.455 for Martin Hutton. The F class, that he stepped up from G into F. A little bit more competition, a little bit more power he's up against. But Martin Hutton always gives it 100% on every single lap that he does. Third, Phil Taylor, a 105.305. Again, the F class competition, pretty fierce this weekend at Knockhill. Phil, a joiner by trade, sponsors his own bit of competition out there on track, and number 392 has been a long-standing race number that he has as he powers up towards that checker flag in a car that's looked after by Graham Durham at Whiteline, one of our sponsors. Always turns out perfectly. Andrew Fahey, a 103.544 was there as well, in the Renault Megane, as ever, as you would expect, and Andrew Fahey in Class F, putting up a good championship run this year is Fahey, but it was Gary Muir, 103.112, fastest in F class and in the road class as well. Gary drives this car to and from the circuit, so much so that one weekend he forgot a wheel spacer and had to drive home between practice and qualifying to pick it up. But Gary really starting to enjoy getting his teeth teeth into the track, and the more track time and track action he gets, the faster Gary becomes. As he comes through the hairpin and accelerates up, the Audi TT was in fine form. In E-Class, Alex Milne was third. Alex Milne, stalwart of the championship, a 104.651. Always thinking outside the box, Alex Milne, always trying to think of the next sponsorship opportunity for Racing Awareness Scotland. Check out their Facebook page, definitely. Rab Jobson was second in E-Class, and that raised a few eyebrows with a 59.740. Jobson, who usually comes out on top, well, he's got his hands very much full this weekend. But Jobson likes a challenge, and he will step up to it. The challenge coming from Andrew Cowie, 59.234, fastest in E-Class in the Subaru. And ever since Andrew's managed to get this car running competitively and consistently, the results have come. And Andrew and Rab Jobson, really Class E is a hot place to be just now. And let's see who comes out on top. Into the Pro Class, we have got Mark Dawson on track and Eric Holmes doing their warm-up laps just to get some heat into the big slick tyres that they are allowed to run. And this is a very un-Mark Dawson moment, something that I haven't seen in years. Spins out on the fastest part of the track, they're running towards the hairpin after putting a little wheel in the grass. And as you can see at the side of the track, Eric Holmes gets a face full of that and decides it's probably best he aborts his lap. There would have been yellow flags and flashing yellow boards out there. But that's not something we see Mark Dawson doing a lot. Unfortunately, that car will have scooped up a lot of the grass at the side of the track, and it'll fill the intercooler, and it will also fill the cooling element of the car, so you need to watch for that. But here's the replay. Dawson wheeling the grass, very lucky to stay rubber side down, and to also not hit anything hard in that fairly large spin.
Bit of dramas though for the Ford Escort that was on track. What happened there?
I did see that he must have spun at some point. So I had to slow down just in case. Yeah, unfortunate for Mark. Today was a test day. Got all my niggles sorted, so hopefully I'm in good shape for next weekend.
So the final results has Eric Holmes fastest on the day and the winner of P Class. The Pro Class, definitely the fastest cars out there. Andrew Cowie second overall and Rab Jobson third in his Audi S3. Those two guys battling it out in E Class. D Class honours went the way of Bobby Davey in as a guest, and F Class went the way of Gary Muir, fifth overall. Fabulous run for Gary Muir to get himself there in his Audi TT. Join us in July for the 12th and 13th for the next instalment of Superlap Scotland.